Hello and apologies, I suppose, for this late night edition of our late night show, the Town End podcast. You're very welcome, everybody. It's season 2, episode 22. Well, it's tit for tat at Tolka, as Dundalk end up at stalemate on the hands of Damien Duff again. He's forever our foe, isn't he, Donald Hanks?
Yeah. Not a huge fan of Damien Duff. I'm not. That's unfair.
It's funny, Donald. We've been building up to some decent results over the past while, and we mentioned before that the 3 times probably where we just haven't reached the heights of what we know we could do would have been the UCD game, the Drogheda game, and the Shelbourne away match previously. And we're back now to those same fixtures will be coming up very soon again. And here's Shelbourne, and we've gone stalemate again, haven't we?
Yeah, and the end result obviously is a draw, and it's a disappointing draw, and you can't really get away from the idea that things could have been so much different tonight if Robbie Benson had taken that chance in the first half. Because for the most part, they were in control of the game. They were in control of possession. Say like the first 10 minutes of the game were a bit scrappy, but they took control then for the rest of the first half. Shells had a few minutes in the second half where they were getting in amongst the team, but they didn't really create that many chances. And then we had another couple of good chances in the second half. And if we had taken any of those, we'd be looking at this whole thing completely differently.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we've dropped four points now in Tolka this season.
Yeah.
And it's not like a reality check or anything like that, because the performance was still pretty good. But I think it's just there's probably one glaring thing that we learned from tonight, and that's when the captain isn't playing. Because we were struggling for a goal against Shells in Tolka the last time, and he came up with something to get us in front. Now, we didn't win it that night, but he was a big miss tonight.
Well, I suppose when we all see the team sheet out and we realize that Pat's not in the team, and we're worried, but you're thinking, well, thank God we played Larne and Dave McMillan's got some minutes into those legs, because, to have just put him in fresh now, it would have been too much for him. And John Martin trying to get back from his own injuries and little niggles that he's picked up too, it's very tough. So it's an absolute mountain to try to replace Pat, because that is what he is to our team. And we waxed lyrical last week about his build-up play in the goal against Shamrock Rovers, the fact that he pulled Lopez right the way out there. He was able to control the ball and spread the play out to Lewis. And it just shows, maybe we were kind of mentioned that maybe we've got so many goal scorers that we've got different patterns of play, but I still think one of the main characters in that is still Pat Hoban, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was always a difference when you think the last couple of seasons when we've had both McMillan and Hoban, that when Hoban's playing, you can play a particular style of football that you can't play when McMillan's playing, and vice versa. You need to readjust your system pretty much, attacking wise, to try and make the most out of them. And we didn't really create any chances for Davy Mack in the first half tonight. He got one in the second half that, again, if he takes that chance, to your whole view on his performance and performance tonight completely changes. But he got this one chance, didn't take the one chance, and then that's just the life of a centre forward, I guess. It's
a bit like a goalkeeper, isn't it? Everything's great till you make a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I was a bit surprised that John Martin didn't start, because I thought even last week when he brought Hoban off, he brought John Martin on instead of him, because he has a bit more physical presence. Maybe he didn't think we needed that tonight. But I think that the last few times I've seen McMillan playing, he can't really get away from the feeling that he needs a few games in the team. He needs 90 minutes competitive football, and he'll get back to the forward that he is. But when he's in for one game and out for 8, 9, 10 games, it's very, very hard to like get up to speed as quickly as he needs to. But yeah, like we can look at his performance and like he worked as hard as he could possibly work, but chances just didn't fall to him tonight. So he's not really the type of player that's going to go off and create his own chances either. So
yeah, he's very much, I think, with Pat is usually involved in build-up play, and he's bringing other members of the team in. Towards, I think Dave McMillan is very much at the end of play and wants to be in the box and get that final touch on. And to be fair, he's carved out a very good career doing that. In particular with us, you know, we think of him in that cup final against Shamrock Rovers. Nobody else on those one-on-ones do you want, but Davy Mack, because he's cool, calm in those scenarios, and we've seen him tuck away penalty after penalty, and he's just one of those players that just knows where the back of the net is. But it just didn't happen. Perhaps, maybe, like you say, lack of action so far this season probably plays that part. Somebody who's been a big player already this year for us is Robbie Benson. We're going to have to talk about it, Donal. I'm sorry, we're going to have to talk about this. And the big chance does fall to him tonight. And you're thinking, in the form he's in after just scoring a winner against Shamrock Rovers, and he's absolutely pivotal to how well we're playing. If you could put this chance at anyone's feet, you're probably thinking, put it at Robbie, because he must be on cloud nine. It wasn't to be tonight.
Yeah, on his left foot as well. Like it was, anyone on the pitch, especially even if Hooben's there, you're thinking Robbie Benson 1-on-1. I'd be like, yeah, he's the man. I think the commentator thought it was in. I think everybody behind the goals thought it was in. I think there was somebody even behind the goals that it happened that thought it went in, even though they have to
really see it wasn't cynetic.
But yeah, it's just they got a bit of luck in the build up that I think that he was passed it to him, but it just sort of came off the outside of his foot and flew past the defender. So you're already out of your seat thinking it's a goal. Yeah. And then beats the keeper. But look, just wasn't to be today. I think, but he has been that player for us. Yeah, exactly. He's been that player for us for so many times, like that. You'll definitely forgive him for that. And it's probably very uncharacteristic of him. You think of the big goals that that he did score, and Poland and everything. He's that sort of a player. But it was so unfortunate for him, because I think probably 9 times out of 10 you give him that chance again and it goes in. But it just wasn't to be at the time when it counted. Yeah, and you said it on commentary as well about having too much time to think about it. Like, I'd say he did have a second to be like, oh, this is so easy. I'll just stick it in here. Yeah. And even like the natural thing of like on the left foot of bending it around to the other side of the goal. He was like, he was outsmarting the goalkeeper as well to be like, no, I'm just going to sneak it down the near side. So, it was pretty shocking that he missed, but we'll forgive him because he's Robbie Benson and because he's brilliant, and he was great again tonight. Like, his performance again was great. Like, the midfield was good. We seem to have this thing of Doyle being the first substitute from the midfield three that we can. I don't know if he only has like 70 minutes worth of running and tackling and being a nuisance, because he was brilliant again today. Like, he was brilliant last week, and he was brilliant. And you're like, 70 minutes, you see the thing going up, you're like, yeah, it's probably. He probably starts walking over. He probably looks at the watch. The ref, how long left? All right, I've only got about 2 minutes left. Yeah, but he was great again. Like, that's the thing. They played really well tonight. Yeah, by all accounts. By all accounts, that seems to be. Look, as per usual, I was in Head in the Game Park tonight, so I didn't get to see. I got a bored 0-0 draw with Sligo lads. I missed nothing. At either game. But it was by all accounts, from what I've seen on, it's like our play was good, our system seemed to be good. We just lacked that final element of a goal tonight. We created probably not as many chances as we would have liked. But when those chances came along, we just needed to be more clinical when they happened. And on the other side of that, I suppose Sligo, do you hear me? Look, that's why you got for mentioning Sligo earlier.
Shells didn't really offer too much tonight. They, I've seen the time wasting posts up on Twitter as the match was going on, and I know when I'm seeing that, I'm not missing much of a game that was going on. But they looked like they were delighted just to even get the draw out of it, and that may have been what they were playing for from the start.
Yeah, and they had a couple of half chances from set pieces towards the end, and Nathan Shepherd did well again, as he always does.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to make a couple of important contributions. Weren't like world-class saves, right? But had to do some really good work. We had there are
that sums it up. We're talking about time wasted.
Also, something else that I noticed. The player that comes to mind the most is Fernandinho. So Fernandinho can foul as many people as he wants, and he doesn't get a yellow card until about 80 minutes, and then it's just like it's impossible to not give him a yellow card. Then the inverse thing happened to Stephen Bradley tonight. Stephen Bradley was fouled about 80 times by different players, and there was no yellow cards. It was like anybody was allowed to foul him, and nothing happened. And then about 80 minutes, somebody, like for about the 100th time, pulled him by the jersey, and someone finally got booked for it. But like Shells had lost the 2 previous games as well, so they were happy enough just to stop the rot, as it were. But they were organised. Like, they were organised when we played them in Tolka and in Oriel. Like, they are set up. Like, Duffer has them set up well. They know what they're doing. They know how to kill the game. They know how to, absolutely belt the ball into the stands if a free kick is
good. To be fair to Duffer, I think, when Shells got relegated 2 seasons ago, everyone talked about the soft touch that they were, in particular when, they went on that poor run at the end that ended up going, losing via the playoffs. They were really struggling for momentum even in Tolka, which you were hoping, you rely on your home form to try to get you something when you're down there, but that seemed to be gone. So I think when they're on the road, but in particular when you come to Tolka, it might look like it's some sort of negative play and it's, time wasting, whatever, but I think he's just making them hard to beat.
Yeah.
And then, especially when they're playing teams like us, and then you'll see when they play Finn Harps, when then they'll play the expressive football. And he's probably right to a certain extent, because you could go up against us and leave yourself open. And another day, Robbie Benson, like we said, will take those chances. Davy Mack takes those chances. And it's, the game could have very easily been 2-0 as it was 0-0.
Yeah. I think there's nothing. I mean, it annoys the bejesus out of us, but there's nothing wrong with the way they play. They're going to get results like that, and they're going to be like, it's going to take an almighty collapse to get them back into trouble. Like, I think they're going to be fine. And it is that thing of like their aim for this season is just above the playoff spot.
Yeah.
And anything above that
in the league. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure they stay in the league. And they're good enough to get like results and stuff from around the place. And they've gotten plenty of good results at home and even a couple away. So they're not a bad team. But it was still up to us tonight. Like, we had the game in the palm of our hand, I think, for the most of it. Now, we didn't really break them open, so it's kind of hard to be like, I see a comment in that the draw was a fair result, and it probably was. I don't think we did all enough to win the game. We could have, though, which is I guess where the annoyance comes in, that we could have won it easily with one of the chances that we created. But even at the end of the game, Ryan O'Kane could have smashed the ball into the top corner, and Gally would have been running around the town up and talk for weeks on end.
Gally had said that he was unavailable, by the way, for the show tonight. But I think if Ryan O'Kane had scored, I think Gally would be on the show.
This show would have started
beside him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have started bang on full time. He would have just sat here by himself and be like waiting for the comments to come in. But he did have he was lively when he came on. And he played well. He played well against Lauren as well in the friendly, and So I was happy to see him come on and get a bit of a run out. And he got one of the Shells players booked because he's really clever with his feet and he's really quick. And then ball bends to him and a bit of a scrap from a scrappy corner, like, and the ball bends to him, and you think this is the moment he is going to burst the net with this, and then just missed. But there wasn't really enough in the performance to say that we absolutely deserve to win.
Mm-hmm.
But still
one of those chances, Donald. From what I've seen on the highlights, I thought it was going to be a carbon copy of last week when the ball rolls out to Lewis McCarry on the wing and he bends in another cross. This week we were all resigned to this is probably his last game, and and now there's a shed of light coming over the hill, and you're thinking, hang on, if we can continue to get this style of play where we're rolling out to him and we're bending in, we'll definitely get more out of him this year. And for you, where do you lie, I suppose, on the McCarry thing for his development, if you know what I mean? Is he better staying with us, gets to play senior football right the way through? He'll want to make it at Stoke. Is it better, do you think, for him to go back now to Stoke and do this pre-season and maybe get into the manager's mind there?
Yeah, you see, it's a tough one because of when our season ends. That's a killer for him, because I guess if you take the Stoke thing out of it, you're like, obviously play the rest of the season, get as much football under your belt as you can, all the experiences that he's picking up. Like, even listening to him talking after the Rovers game about the atmosphere and stuff, like, it must be absolutely crazy for these lads that haven't played in front of crowds to be playing like him in front of the shed for the second half of a Rovers game. Must just be absolutely mind-blowing to him,
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, you'd be like, play out the rest of the season and then go back. But you're looking at going back in November, December time, when it's going to be really, really difficult for him to make any headway into any sort of squad at that stage, and he'll have missed Stoke's pre-season. So I get that that's a consideration for him. But I'd say for the better thing for his development to me is just to stay and play the rest of the season. Like, you could end up playing cup semi-finals, cup finals, like massive games towards the end of the season, and you'd be going to one of the best stadiums in Ireland and beating Shamrock Rovers later in the season. Like, it's all ahead of him,
But you're right. I think you have a valid point there, because for me, him staying is going to further his development, as in how he's going to play right now. But when he returns to Stoke, whoever is in these positions and the manager's mind of who is a backup for that position, that's probably settled at that stage. So he could be third, fourth down the line. Also, is the manager going to look at him and say, hang on, you've just played a full season of football. You must be knackered. I can't be playing you here. So is he going to have to sit out the rest of the season then? So it's a real. I'd love to see him stay, because I just think, we're starting to see a pattern of play from and a confidence from him now, and like you said there, the buzz he got of the atmosphere in the Shamrock Rovers, and we seen it in the footage of the goal, and you can see him in the bottom corner, and as soon as the goal went in, he wanted to celebrate with the shed, like, before the rest of the lads got over. So he gets the club. And I think that's been the real thing with so many of these signings that Skip has managed. I mean, they get Dundalk Football Club, and you look at, we don't really like talk about, but Shamrock Rovers and the way they've stockpiled players there. Not too many of them get Shamrock Rovers. They're there to pick up a pay packet. They don't get the ethos of the club and what it's all about, and they're happy just to sit there and play a game this week, not play a game this week. Towards, I think everyone that's in that team is hungry to stay in that team and get in it. And no more than Dan Lewis McCarry, who's played. Has he played every position in the backline, or is that just the Sam Bone?
Yeah, I mean, it is we look at it like, because obviously we're fans and we live in the area and whatever, so we're all used to this. Like, we were all used to, like, everybody in the town talking about the game tomorrow and, like, the jerseys and all that kind of stuff. But these lads might not have been expecting to come to this big of an area where there's only one team So
Yeah.
they're celebrities, and they're loved, sometimes hated, but mostly loved by like the general public. And there's also like there is an amazing atmosphere building after last season and after all the chaos and everything from last season. It does feel like something massive is building, like there's a wave coming. And just because the uncertainty of when he signed, of not knowing if he was going to be playing for a start, I'd imagine. Like, John Mountney was signed and all, and he was injured and stuff, so we didn't really have a right back. But like, he was a little shaky the first couple of games, playing at left back, then back to left back, and thrown all around the place. But since he's gotten settled at right back, and the team's gotten settled, the team's gotten better every week. The atmosphere at Oriole's gotten better every week. The away end at every game is absolutely top notch. And fair play to everybody going up tonight, knowing that they get absolutely drenched, standing out in the not that, obviously people have to do when they come to
What can we say?
Complaining, but there was a massive crowd in there and they made a load of noise. But it there's something building, and I think for an outsider to come in and start to experience it as like probably the first time he's played in that sort of arena, in that sort of atmosphere, it must just be like the thrill of a lifetime, and you wouldn't want to give it up. But somebody's obviously going to have to say to him, the repercussions if you stay in and playing out the rest of this season are you probably won't be playing for Stoke the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing with loans in our league. Like, you've seen Lincoln take players back from Drogheda because they have to do pre-season and they want to evaluate their players, and you can't do it when they're you can watch the footage and stuff, but you can't actually work with them, which
and Drogheda probably lost two of their best players.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we could have been in the exact same situation. Like, we could have lost, Stephen Bradley could have been taken back, Macari could have been taken back, it's a risk. And it is one of the problems with the summer league that the calendars don't match up, so it does create that bit of a problem. But like, I see a comment about somebody whose name
Well, if it's asked in a comment, you're allowed to mention it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the rule in this. So Frank Harlan just comes in with a question here saying, rumours that Gannon wants out of Rovers. Would you have him back in Oriole?
We have Mountney for cover for right back, so we don't really need him.
I presume Frank is thinking if Lewis was to go.
Yeah.
And that's the real part of that, isn't it? But because if that happens, it will have a chain effect. We'll have to do something.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Skip, he has identified real good quality in players. So you would have that confidence in him that he would find that. But would that person be in Sean Gannon?
I think there's absolutely no chance that he's going to be coming in the middle of the season. Like, if Rovers are looking at us second and they're like, yeah, go on, have our reserve right back. I can't see them doing that. And if they're looking for money, we're obviously not going to pay for him.
Well, he's under contract. It was a 2.5 or 3 year deal, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, and also his wages, he's not going to come down on the cheap. And there's somebody else that I'd imagine in that back four that we have that might be worth giving more money to.
Yeah.
So I can't see it happening. If he was out of contract at the end of the season, I could see it then, but that doesn't solve the problem that if Macari goes, he's going to come in as his replacement.
Of course, you have Sam Bone who can play right as well. So between him and Mountney, you probably think you may have cover, and then wherever you're thinking you were going to play Sam Bone, maybe you now look at a player in that position, whether that's someone who can play along the back four or just in front of them, where we've seen Sam play several times in that kind of. I remember Stephen Kenny playing Sean Hoare there a few times, just right in front of the back four, and that seems to be where Sam Bone has popped up of late as well. I suppose to put a positive spin on tonight, as well, we look at this back four is very much it's solid. It's written in stone now. This is our back 4 and 5. If you bring in Shepherd, 9th clean sheet already, so that's more clean sheets than last year. Now, and I know like it's a big save there from at the end. I know, like you say, he didn't have a whole lot to do, but he's brave. At the start of the year, you know, we think of that the draw in Tolka and that ball bounced, and you know him, Conley, no one knew what to do. Towards this time, the ball bounces and he's straight out and he pounces on the ball and he has it before anything can happen. I think that just shows Nathan Shepherd's progression so far this season, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Connolly was talking about this in an interview after one of the games. He was talking about how good he's been, and he said he remembers at the start of the season having like rollicking abuse at him, and you could see it. Like you could see him turning around and screaming and shouting at him, like either you're supposed to come for that or you're not supposed to come for that. Whatever it was that he was shouting at, they all had to get used to playing together, and now there's a proper understanding between two centre backs and him. So they obviously know if there's a ball over the top, he's out quick as lightning to get rid of it if he can. He knows that if he's coming to collect the ball or if he's coming to punch something, he has to take absolutely everybody out to make sure he gets to the ball.
Yeah.
Even if it means taking out Connolly or Boyle, he has to do it.
Yeah.
So it's they've gotten better and better and better. Like the results, the stats are there. Like the clean sheet record is fantastic, and we were saying that last week. Like they're not conceding goals. We're going to be saying this, I think, till the end of the season about how many goals they conceded from open play in the first two games.
Yeah,
because it's been next to none ever since.
Yeah, start off with 2-2 draws, and then shut up shop really since a couple of penalties, and that's yeah.
And you know, you have confidence that like all it's going to take for them to win most games is the odd goal, which is the thing with tonight. Like you just felt like if they could have just nudged one of them in, they would have been home and dry because they wouldn't have conceded a goal tonight. But it's a brilliant.
Would you worry that your foundation for this back five is based on Connolly and Lewis McCarry, and we've got massive question marks over both those players?
Yeah, well,
I feel bad that there's no one else to throw these curveballs at. Only you tonight.
I've been off for about I don't know, 3 months. I haven't answered any of these questions.
I've thrown up all these questions waiting for you,
Yeah. The Connolly thing is a big deal. Because I don't know that anybody like Lewis McCarry's been very, very, very good. And I don't want him to leave. If he did go, Shelbourne can play right back. If Connolly goes, sure, Shelbourne can play centre back, but to my mind, this whole run of defensive stability and clean sheets, and as much as the goalkeeper's been brilliant, it's down to Connolly.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's gamesmanship in negotiations or if like stories that are coming out about how much money he's going to be getting if he goes to X or Y. Who knows where those stories are coming from? Who knows if any of it's real or what? But if we can manage to sort something out to keep him, even if it's to get him till Christmas and then reevaluate again and see where we are Christmas, then that's priority one to me. Because even like he has mistakes in him, you know, like he's not flawless in case, because I think somebody did say it to me like, oh, but he made mistakes here and here, and I'm like, yeah, everybody's going to make mistakes. Like he is going to make mistakes, but how much confidence he gives everybody around him, how much communication there is between him and McCarry and Doyle in front of him and the keeper behind him, like he's integral to how the team's set up. I think if you like flip Hubin and him, I think there'd be a difference over a few games if Connolly wasn't playing, and I think there'd be a difference over a few games if Hubin wasn't playing. You might get away with it for a game. If he's suspended, it'd be okay. But if you lost him for a run of games, I think it'd be a challenge for someone to take his place at this stage, which is crazy to think that he's only been there half a season. And now maybe like I don't know what you think about it, but That's how I feel. I don't know if you think he's as important as I think he is.
No, definitely. Look, I think if you're at any match in Oriel Park, and you'll automatically know exactly where he is in the pitch because you could just hear him. He's just non-stop barking orders, bad this. We're doing this, up the tempo, lower the tempo. He's good at long range passing, short passing, sees the bigger picture. Like you say, even when he hasn't got the ball, he's talking. There's no way, in my eyes, there's no way that Nathan Shepherd's his confidence would not be there if it wasn't for a player like him beside him. Like you said, we all seen it the first few games in Oriel Park, and we're nearly at loggerheads with each other. But I bet you a tenner, the two of them looked at each other and just smiled at each other after, said, "You know what I meant, though, right?" And you're like, "Yeah." And that was it. And that's it. That's all they needed. And that was it. And to get each other. And I would go so far as to say that possibly Connie is probably the best central defender in the league at the moment. And that's a big call, but over, and it's Gally's thing that he loves to say all the time is like, roll another team in front of me and pick me a better center half. I don't think I could. And it's the same with Nathan Shepherd and go, I don't think there's a better goal. Like McGinty's good, but when you put it all in, I suppose that he's with our team and he's so young and everything. I just think Shepherd is fantastic, and he's going to be a brilliant keeper for his whole career. But I think we've got, right the way through our spine of our team this year. And I don't know if it's just a confidence thing or is it something that Skip is doing, but I really think he's maximized the attributes of certain players and kind of built them back up to where last year, like we were talking about this yo-yo season. We were laughing off air there, just talking about the Pats result tonight. That was the most Dundalk last year result there ever will be tonight.
Yeah,
throwing it away like that. We think of beating Rovers at home, getting thumped by Bows 5-1, and then going and beating Pats away. I was like, that was the roller coaster last year. Like just to bring you back, in case you forget what it was like. Towards I think we're seeing a consistent line in a lot of our performances because the players are being asked to play at this level, and the bar is no longer, oh, you were good your last game, can we replicate that again? Oh, why weren't you good this game? It's like, well, I expect this now. And that's where we're maintaining it. And I think that's all down to people like Conley, who's got that experience and are like, lads, don't let it slip. If we let it slip, we're gone on this. This is why I'm yelling at you. This is where I need to get you. I want everyone to be playing at this level. And that's why I think I'm 100% there with you. I think he's so important to this side. And if there was anything that we could do to hold on to him, I'd be right there with you. Like I drove to Clonus already. I couldn't find anyone. I turned and came back home.
There's whiskey if he wants it, if I know some people who might be able to fix up with a bottle of whiskey if he wants to stay. One bottle, that's probably all I can manage.
We're not made of them.
But just when you were saying about hearing him when you're in Oriel, I'm pretty sure I heard him on the stream today, like through the commentator's microphone. Possibly. I heard him shouting at someone, being like, my ball or leave it or something. Like the communication is amazing. I just want to give a shout out to the LOI stream that went off again and for a couple of minutes and then went 10 minutes back in time when it came back on. And also they gave us a quick glimpse of Finn Harps and St. Pat's for about 2 seconds. I think they were supposed to show us a replay and they just cut to a different game. So we got to hear the lovely voices of commentators.
Finn Harps,
the two boys that were probably still complaining about Hooven not being sent off for trying to win a header like the last time we were there. But just wanted to give a quick shout out because you wouldn't have seen that because you were obviously working
elsewhere.
For somebody. But yeah, I was having a conversation with Pingu about this a while ago about the squad that we have, because we were talking about the comparisons to Kenny's squad in his first season and how that built the momentum and everything else, and it's kind of, I guess when you go through that squad and compare it to the one that we have now, the squad that we have now is sneakily really, really, really good. Like the spine of the team when everybody's fit, like you're talking about, like say, we're arguably the best goalkeeper in the league, or actually the best goalkeeper in the league if you've watched him playing. Then we're saying the best centre back, hands down, the best centre back in the league. Then Robbie Benson, like just to pick him out as being like the main central midfielder, it'd be Robbie Benson in midfield, and then the best centre forward.
We tried for seasons to find a replacement for Robbie Benson. Guess who it turned out to be? Robbie Benson.
I also love what he said last week after the game. Of I think Gav was asking him about nights like this haven't been happening the last two seasons, and he said like nothing's changed since I was here the last time. Like when he was here last time, they won the league.
Yeah,
and now they're back, and it's the exact same Oriel every time Robbie Benson is there. But the squad, like that spine of the team is
right. Has been up top.
It's excellent. Yeah, best forward in the league, best goalkeeper in the league, best centre back in the league. I could make an argument for the best midfield in the league, even if the others have about 40 different midfielders that they can put out. Like
they can only pick X amount though for one game, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. And the other ones just have a strap on the touchline, and if they don't get a few games, start to put rumors out that they want to come back to Oriel. I'm not going to get sucked into that. No. But they are in a good spot squad wise, and it's that's another one of the things of like trying to replace one of those linchpins would be really, really tough. But hopefully they don't have to. Hopefully the offer of a free bottle of whiskey and
I think you've swayed it tonight.
You can give him a lift home someday.
Do you know what I mean? Save on diesel money.
What more can you want? Just put these in the contract. We'll get on to the boys and be like, make sure the offer has the free bottle of whiskey at the bottom of it.
I'm looking forward to, what Gally writes in our Facebook, by the way, kind of what the show is about. I think this is going to be offer of whiskey and petrol money. Listen back here.
Yeah, listen back to an absolutely ridiculous offer being given.
Hey, we've 40 minutes of completely ridiculous offers going on here, so hey, fair play to us.
We can have 40 minutes more of them if we want. We can cope with other offers.
It's the extended version. Well, look, because we're later on tonight, we won't go in too far. Donald, you'll be delighted that you've missed me nearly calling. Hey, we must be in a title race now, right? And now I feel like the idiot.
No, look. Next week we could be back in a title race. Who knows? This
is the thing. Who knows it all? But just to show where we are in this, Donald, you can look away now. Well, I won't win anything. But Shamrock Rovers extend their lead at the top of the table after a 1-0 victory in the Dublin Derby against Bows tonight. So they're on top with 45. We are behind still in second place on 38 points. But 1 point behind us now is Derry City after a 1-0 victory thanks to penalty patching.
Yeah. Can't miss an opportunity like that. That's just an open goal.
Exactly. And then behind them in fourth place on 32 points is St. Patrick's Athletic after we mentioned there falling away on a 2-0 lead, letting it slip in Ballybuffet tonight. And then to the second half of the league then, well, before that, sorry, it was Sligo Rovers on 29 points after picking up a point in Headingley Park tonight. But then Bows on 26, Shells 25, Drogheda on 22 points. There's kind of like a little mini league going on between those guys. And you'll probably say roughly there or thereabouts, depending on how people strengthen, I suppose, over the next couple of weeks. And then below that, then in ninth is Finn Harps on 12 points after gaining an extra point tonight, and UCD on 9 points. There's definitely something happening here with this table. We're seeing probably Finn Harps, UCD slightly cut adrift. Then you've got Drogheda, Shelbourne, and Bows currently, who are kind of thereabouts. They're for lack of consistency probably between those teams more than anything, and maybe just in strength and depth with regard to squad, like we just talked about, a couple of players that Drogheda have now lost. And then above that, Sligo, Pats, probably the outside chance of a European, and then Derry, Dundalk, Shamrock Rovers, you would say. Looking at the moment, the odds on for a European spot, you would think, and somebody has to put it some sort of a title challenge, right?
Well, someone does, but
who?
It could be us. Who knows? But I think what we saw tonight is the level of consistency that you have to have, and I don't know whether we have. It's like normally you have to challenge for the title for a season before you're really, really ready for like a proper title push, because you have to get into these games and know that you have to win. Like if the chance is there to win, like, and Rovers did it tonight. Like I think they could have scored a few more against Bows, but they held on and got their win. So, it's a long season. Like there's still a really, really long way to go.
They're literally only just over halfway there.
Yeah,
and we've talked about this before. Like this European football is now about to come in. I mean, Frank just posed a question there about teams playing on the road, but I'll just jump to the end of his point, and that's that Pats and Rovers now have to play each other on Monday to make sure they haven't got a backlog of fixtures. But as a result, their backlog is now. Yeah. So you've got. We know there's been issues with injuries for Jack Byrne and stuff previously in Shamrock Rovers. Now they're playing a lot of games. They're probably not coming into Europe in their best form. I wouldn't have thought. Which, if they don't have a successful European campaign, which everyone assumes that Bradley has stayed at Shamrock Rovers for, I mean, that could have an effect on the second half on the league for them. You have, I suppose, Derry, who's had a very inconsistent season. I know they've had a lot of injuries too, and some of them long-term, like Michael Duffy. But they, I'm trying to name drop as many former players, by the way, for you tonight. I don't know if you've quite noticed this. But I am. But, they're coming with inconsistent form and now have to play Europe too. You've got, Sligo and Pats, who really are incredibly inconsistent, to the point where one of their former managers has now been sacked. And I don't think that Pats team looks anything like the Stephen O'Donnell team that was there last year that got to a cup final.
No, and just on like the idea that Pats and Rovers are playing on Monday, so everybody's home form seems to be decent, and most teams. I think I was saying this before about Derry, about when we beat Derry, that I was fully confident that Derry would get back on a decent run of fixtures after. But pretty much every game in the league is going to be tough, especially away from home. And like Rovers could absolutely drop points to Pats on Monday, but it's still going to be up to us to not drop points away to Shells twice. Well,
I think if you take some of our away form, so we've picked up 2 points in Tolka, we've picked up no points in Head in the Game Park, and we picked up 1 point in the UCD Bowl.
Yeah, I mean,
like that says its own story there.
Yeah, and that does make you think like they are not far off being like properly up there. And you add, like just add to that if Hubin had scored with the last kick of the ball against Rovers in Oriel, that's another 2 points. So I just think they need to I always feel like you need to contend first, like kind of stumble into contention before you're a proper contender. Like that's like the thing with Derry this season, of Derry not really contending last season, and then everyone assuming they're going to go all guns blazing and win every game, and it's like they have to prove that they can do it, and we have to prove that we can do it. That I know there's plenty of players there that have done it in the past for us, but this squad, like this group, have to prove that if they absolutely had to beat Shells tonight, like if it was a 6-pointer, like, or if Rovers drop points and then if we win, we're past them, that kind of scenario, that we have to get into those scenarios and prove that we can do it before I'm going all in on a title challenge. I also just don't want to be disappointed because I'm so happy with how everything's gone. Up to now that I don't want the shine to be taken off because we finished third. If we finish third.
I still think that no matter what, I think we'll always bring it back to what we thought at the start of the year. And we said, if we could be in contention for a European place, this team has done very well. Because like you meant, it all has to be about some sort of progression. You have to be going in a way and you have to get players on board to go there. And I think we have that and we're going away. Like I say, is a title challenge. Look, if it presents itself later in the season, you will have to go for it because you have to be in it to win it. And then at that stage, you will say, well, then is your goal of looking for European football for next year secure? It probably is then, if you're in that title. But I'm with you on this. But what I'd love to see, and I think if we need to turn that around, and Frank, I suppose to go back to your question then about playing well on the road, if you look at between 4 games, we've picked up 3 points against so-called lower end teams in this division. That's not the way a champion would be. They would put people to the sword and that's probably what we're missing, is that little killer instinct against these other teams that were probably meant to, is it expectation? I don't know exactly what it is, but you can't say it's a better way of fans because we drop points at the Bull. Do you know what I mean? It's not that.
It's like going back to COVID or something when they're playing in the Bull. But, it's hard to pin down exactly what it would take, because I know like people be saying about being like being negative or a naysayer or something, and like I'm really not. It's like I'm absolutely delighted with where the team is, where the club is, where everything is at the minute, and what I feel like it would be incredible to like really push Rovers to the end, and I definitely think they're good enough to do it. Like individually, we saw them play against Rovers; they were every bit as good as them 2 out of the 3 times to do. Our reserves are almost as good as them in Tala. So it's not a case of I don't think they're good enough to do it. It's just it feels like a hell of a lot to ask that first shot out of the gate we're challenging for a title. And the last thing is not wanting some negativity around how the season ends. And
no, exactly.
It's like we just need. I really feel like every game that we play now, I've just taken in the excitement and the atmosphere and the joy that people are getting from the team, and just enjoying that. And wherever they finish, that's where they finish, and I'd be happy wherever it is. Obviously, if it's first, that would be incredible. But I'm just trying not to be. Trying not to put myself out there again.
Yeah.
The last time I thought they were going to win the league was a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you and me both, pal. We all nail colours to math, so we can all hold our hands up. I think that's it. But I think as long as we can see that progression, like you say, it'd be very hard to have a negative effect on the season. So let's say at the end of the season we finish 2nd or 3rd, we get European football. I personally, I'll be delighted. I think that's been a good end. We got European money back in. Think of, we may not be in that scenario that we're currently in with Connolly because we think, oh, we got European money to offer you as wages. How about hanging on here and play European football? He's probably saying, yeah, why not? And that could be another thing to whatever extension we get on these guys' contracts coming through. If we can dangle a little bit of European football in front of them for the season after, why wouldn't you get on board? Because I think that was part of the roller coaster with the success of Dundalk for years under Kenny and Perth at the end was, hey, we got European football in. How about another challenge on this? By the way, we done this before. We got the group phases before. Now we got the group phase again. There was hey, we can keep going on this because there's a consistency of playing at a very high level at this club and being there, competing as well. And I think just to be back at that end of the table and have a possibility of European football ahead. And then if we can get back into, because I think you look at other teams and no team, I don't think, has any right to be guaranteed European football. But I think when you look at Rovers, ourselves, say Derry, there's your 3 guaranteed places. as it currently lies. But then the two teams just outside that are Pats and Sligo, and they would say, well, we're currently in European football. So they not got a right to be part of that. But hey, 5 into 3 or 4 does not go. So something has to give, and someone's going to lose out. And I'd love if it just wasn't us this year.
That's a dangerous thing as well when you're offering players contracts and stuff, and you're in Europe when you offer the contract, and then you're not in Europe the next season. Like it's. Yeah. And I get, obviously, we pretty much deal in short-term contracts, like a year or 2 years, whatever, for most clubs. So I guess it's not as dangerous, but just the knife edge of being that team that are in 4th or 5th and coming into the mid-season window being like, we were in Europe.
Yeah.
But if you sign this contract, we might not be in Europe.
Yes.
The next season. So it's a tricky one, but it would be a brilliant carrot to have in front of people that, like, yeah, we're happy enough that we're confident enough that we'll finish in the top 4, and we have a brilliant record in Europe. So yeah, no, it's a great thing to be able to offer people. But
yes, look, Donald, I think we said we're going to have a quick show tonight. Where we're on for nearly 54 minutes here.
I thought we were off the air about half an hour ago.
That's why you thought it was mentioned so many former players.
Did I say anything about the whiskey on the air?
That offer's out there now. Both of us have to stand over this. I can picture Mark Conley sitting on the seat beside me in the Jeep drinking as I drive him back home. Well, look, thank you, Donald, for popping on tonight. Thank you for everyone with their comments tonight. We should be back on the 1st of July, back with UCD at home. We'll back to our normal format. We'll have pizza and goodies for everyone to give away. I don't know. I just threw in goodies. I don't know.
Please don't turn up expecting goodies.
I'll find something in the house. I don't know. Here's two jelly baby.
For the first commenter
in. Well, with nobody else here, only myself and yourself, and the massive omission in the team lineup tonight, I think it's fair to say if there's no Pat, there's no party.